What is up, guys? Today's video is going to be answering a question that I get asked all the time, and I figure that seeing as I get asked it at least once or twice a day, it'd be worth making it into a video. So that question is, what's the quickest way to climb the ladder? And I doubt any of you are going to be surprised because it's probably something you've all thought about before. Now there are a ton of different answers I could give you, but the answer I normally always give is just main 1 or 2 champions, and this video is going to be going over why and how it will let you climb. Now some people don't like the whole one-trick pony thing, but probably around 75% of the people in Diamond 1 got there by mainly playing 1 or 2 champions, and then once they were there they started to slowly learn new champions. So why does it work so well? Well, there are a ton of different aspects to League. That's in my opinion one of the reasons why it's so much fun. In lane, for example, you have to think about getting CS, you have to watch the enemy laner, you have to watch the map, while also trying to harass as much as possible. Now that's a lot to think about for anyone, but if you main a champion, then you know exactly how much damage they do and how their spells work, so you have to think less about CS and harass, and you can focus more on the other things. Now that is one of the biggest things. You don't have to worry about thinking how to pull off your spell rotation or something like that, because you've done it so many times before and it's now habit. This is more important when you're actually fighting someone as well. So watch his flash by double lift. It's literally less than a second after he's used his abilities and killed someone, and no, I'm not saying that maining a champion will let you suddenly pull that off. But if you're not thinking about your champion or whether that last spell is going to kill someone, then you can think about the hook that you need to dodge, and it's just more likely to actually happen. Now the other thing, and possibly the bigger thing that comes from playing a champion so much, is you learn exactly how much damage you do and you can take. Now this sounds really dumb, and it's not something you really notice until you play against someone who mains that champion. They'll be able to find kills, often just solo efforts on their own, on the outside of fights or in lane, because they know exactly what they can do and how much damage they can deal. You'll see this a lot when you kind of learn a new champion. You're going to die a lot, and that's mainly just from testing your damage. You'll fight, figure out what works and what doesn't, and then you know when you can and can't pick fights. This might not seem like a big deal, but honestly it's often the difference between going even and winning your lane. Now when I do coaching sessions or I go over people's replays, this is the biggest thing that I notice. So I'm sitting here thinking, I know that you have enough damage to kill them right there, whereas the person I'm watching is thinking, I don't know whether I can kill them or not, so it's probably just safer for me to farm. Now this is pretty much down to experience, like that's all it is. I played the champion more than they have, so I know for sure, whereas the person I'm watching doesn't. So when you main a champion, it basically fixes this whole problem, because you're playing the champion so much that you gain that experience you need much quicker than if you play a bunch of different champions. So that covers the why it works, and now I'm going to be going over how it works, and there are really 2 things that I want to point out that are really important in solo queue and kind of reinforce this whole idea. Now first off, the person you're playing against probably doesn't main that role, and they probably won't have too many games on that champion either. In solo queue, people are often forced into roles they aren't comfortable on, so just because the enemy champion should counter yours doesn't mean that they can play it well enough to actually beat you in lane. Now for me personally, this champion is Vayne. I played so many games on Vayne that I can sometimes win my lane when I really shouldn't, just because I know the exact trades that I can take and how to create small advantages on her, or at least let myself farm. The point is that if you become good enough on your chosen champion, then it doesn't matter if someone picks something to counter you, because you will have learned how to play that matchup and win. The second thing is that it's not enough to go even in your lane. You have to win. You have to assume that your teammates will lose their lanes and you'll have to carry the game. If you're playing a champion that you aren't that familiar on, then you'll probably do okay, you might win your lane, but it's unlikely that you'll be able to outplay or really put your team on your back just because you haven't learned how to yet. Now there are plenty of examples of this around. Ryan Choi and his Rengar, Gripex with his Lee Sin, you could say Trick2G with his Udyr, or even Foxtrot with his Lee Sin to some degree as well. Now all these people are Diamond 1 or Challenger, and they pretty much climbed with that one champion and then they learned how to play the others. There's nothing wrong with it, and in fact most people do it. They have these signature champions, and even though some streamers can play other things too, chances are that they only play their signature champion at one point to climb. Well, I hope you found this video useful, and there are a couple of other ways to climb quicker as well, so I'll probably put them in videos later this week. I'll hang around and answer some questions in the comments if you guys have any, and I'll catch you in the next video.